I'd like to ask you to do me a favor. The next time you sit down to do any sort of recording work, whether it's on camera or on microphone, before you even begin, I just want you to check one thing. I want you to check how comfortable you are. And I'll tell you why in just a moment on this episode of the VO Heroes podcast. These days, we're being asked more than ever to do work from home, especially when it comes to auditioning. Now, for voiceover people, this has been the norm for a couple of decades now. The fact that we almost always audition from home. In fact, I can't remember, despite the pandemic, I can't remember the last time I was actually at a studio for an audition, for a commercial audition or any other type of audition. I've always been asked, almost exclusively for the last, 5 to 10 years, and more before that, to do the audition from home. It's standard order procedure when it comes to voiceover. For on-camera people, it's more and more the norm, and likely will remain the norm, or at least a much higher percentage once we get through the brunt of the COVID pandemic. And to that end, I want to make sure that you have the best shot possible at doing great work, either when you're auditioning or when you're doing actual production work for a client. And the one thing I want you to check the next time you sit down to do a self-tape on camera or to do an audition for voiceover in front of your microphone is to check how comfortable you are when you sit or stand or do whatever you do to do your work. And the reason I want you to check on this is because I want you to not have to worry, to remove from your performance equation the notion of your equipment. So when I do my work here on camera, if you're watching this podcast episode, or if you ever hear me when you're listening to a podcast episode, I'm not at all straining to reach my microphone. And I've had some clients in the past who've set up their microphone because they have a small space, or because their desk is too low or too high, or their chair is too low or too high, and they haven't had enough play in the desk mic stand that they have, or in the tripod that they use for their camera, and they've had to kind of reach for their equipment. Either they've had to lean down, or they've had to reach forward, or they've had to reach backward, or they've had to reach up if their chair is too low or the table is too high because they can't get their mic stand down low enough. And I want you to make sure your equipment comes to you, not you going to your equipment. It changes everything about your performance if you have to strain like that to actually reach out to your microphone. You know, we talk about the microphones that we teach with, the AT2020 USB Plus. You want to be about 3 fingers away from the microphone and your chin. You want to play it nice and close. And that means being in a position where the microphone is near your face. Now, if you have to lean forward to get to the microphone, which a lot of people do because either they don't have room on their desk for a desk stand, or they've set up their mic stand in some way that they have to sort of seek that sweet spot, go forward or backward or up or down, I want you to set it up so that the mic comes to you. And mic stands in general are fairly inexpensive. You can get a Rode mic stand for, $70 or $80. That's a boom mic stand that you can move out of the way, move toward you, lower, bring it up and down. The desktop mic stand that we provide to our students works just fine in most cases, but in some cases it doesn't. And I want you to have comfort. I want you to have one less thing to worry about when you audition. Same thing with your camera, your video camera, whether it's your webcam or a DSLR like I use, or some other camera that you're using. Make sure it's in a situation and in a position so that you don't have to worry about where you are in the process. Yes, you have to be picked up properly, just like you do with a microphone, but give yourself a break. Give yourself the ability to be comfortable with what you do. Not only do you deserve it, Not only are you stressed enough having to do these things at home, but your performance is going to be so much better if you don't have to worry about reaching out towards your gear or reaching up for your gear or stretching your back or scrunching down or any of these things that you need to do when your microphone isn't positioned properly or your camera isn't positioned properly. And we fly right by this stuff. We set up our gear to get things done. If we have to tear it down because it's a multi-use area like a closet where other people use it or a desk area where we have other things going on. And we forget our own personal comfort. That comfort is much more important than you think it is. It affects your voice. It affects the way you look at things. It affects the way you're seen on camera. It affects so many things. So I want you to just take a moment. The next time you get in position to do any sort of work, whether it's audition or production work, and just check it. Check it before you wreck it. Check to see that you're comfortable, that you don't have problems breathing or reaching or any of those things, that where your equipment is the best place for it to be. And if it isn't, let me know in the comments below if you need help. But if it isn't, make a change. Give yourself a gift. Make sure that your gear is where it needs to be for you to be comfortable when you're doing your work. Tell me what you think about this. I've had so many clients who've been surprised when I've said, it sounds an awful lot like you're reaching or you're too far away or, well, I kind of am because of the way I have things set up, and then we work on it, right? I want you to have that gift, okay? If you like what you're hearing here, please consider subscribing to the podcast. If you're on a social media network, smash that like button as hard as you possibly can, because really, you don't need to use it anymore after that, right? If you know of an actor or a voice talent that would benefit from this, please feel free to forward it. And I want to thank you. I'm David H. Lawrence the 17th, and I'd like to thank you for watching and for listening. And I will see you in the next episode of the VO Heroes podcast.